All right. So I got Abigail. A lot of people know you as May. Say your last name because I'll screw it up.
Yes, it's Tiefenthaler.
All right. That's very interesting. Just curiosity. What is that last name? What is that?
It's actually Austrian. It's acquired. It's my husband's last name. Interestingly enough, we both come from German descent, but his is over on the east coast of Germany, closer to Austria. Mine is more Black Forest area, the more west, area. So
Interesting. So thank you for being on my podcast. And one of the reasons I want to have you on here is because I've said it before, you're old school when it comes to marketing. And I have younger people or all different type of people on my podcast that are involved with marketing. You take a totally different approach. And I love that about you. And I want to get into that with you, right? And I know you deal with, you like, what else do you do like high ticket type of things. You also, how do I say this? Like, you have different strategies. Let's call it for what it is. And I want to get into those because I think a lot of people that are maybe middle-aged or older will like to hear your type of strategies, maybe compared to the youth or younger people that are so technology driven. Because I think a lot of people get lost in the shuffle. Like a previous podcast I did with one of my guys with marketing, they're pushing TikTok. They're just very specific saying we're TikTok specialists, right? Which is understandable because instead of them saying, hey, Rich, we do Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, everything, it wasn't working for them. So they said, let's pick a specific niche, or at least this point in time, that's something that's working very well. In your case, like I said, let's kind of get into how you kind of started too, because you've been doing this for a majority of your life. So I want to cover that as well. But first, kind of give people an idea who you are and how long you've been doing this.
Well, I call myself the daughter of a madman. So my dad was Madison Avenue, 1960s BBD&O, New York City advertising, and then went out on his own. And a lot of people say, well, that's your dad, but what about you? And I grew up in the household of a man who, eventually left BBD&O and focused more on promotion than on advertising, which are two different parts of the marketing spectrum.
Right.
And worked with a wife who he brought business to, and she started a fulfillment business out of the house in 1966, 1967. I was 7 years old. So the dinner conversation really revolved around marketing. And I worked for my mother out of the house when, I was old enough to help with fulfillment services. And I worked on weekends at my dad's agency, helping him do a lot of different things. And so when I was 15, a guidance counselor said to me, are you going to go to college? And I said, yes. And he goes, what are you going to go to college for? And I looked at him like he had six heads. And I go, marketing, like what else is there?
Right.
Because I've literally been immersed in this industry my entire career.
Mm-hmm.
In 1978, when I went to college, I couldn't even get a marketing degree. I ended up getting a Bachelor of Arts with a business administration degree with an emphasis in marketing. And then I got an MBA in strategic management with an emphasis in strategic marketing. So I tell people I come to this granularly, I come to it genetically, I come to it from an expertise and academic perspective. I started my career working in a marketing department for a financial services product, EF Hutton. I then moved to the agency side. I got my MBA, went to the client side, worked in product management, and then went back into the agency side until I went out on my own in 1997. So what I will often tell people is if there's somebody who has a broader perspective of marketing, I'd like to meet them. Because I've sold packaged goods products and cash cows like X-Lax. I've sold new products like things that Mrs. Smith comes out with. Right. I've launched and relaunched companies like AT&T in various industries. I've worked with small startups. So there really is a breadth of experience. And when you say I'm old school, what I will tell you is the one thing that I believe that is often missing in today's marketing, which is very different than the marketing of my dad's generation and my
Of course.
beginning generation and career,
Sure.
is that there are certain foundational principles that never change with marketing. And so what happens is when somebody goes into a tactical mode, like they're TikTok experts,
Sure.
and we need TikTok experts, just like we need LinkedIn experts. They're different approaches, right? But there still needs to be that common thread that is helping with that 360-degree view, so that the strategy from tactic to tactic is all aligned.
Yeah, you're about strategy, right?
I am all about strategy.
You're about
Yes.
strategy. That's your thing. And you don't rush things, I think, as well. You know how long it takes sometimes to build a brand. Let's call it for what it is, right?
Well, and you always are building,
You never
this
end.
is really like the path that never gets built, that never gets finished, because your brand is an evolutionary. Tami and I call ourselves evolutionary marketers. I'm in partnership with a woman who really is focused on tactics and implementation, while I'm focused on strategy. Because evolutionary marketing means what you're always doing is looking at the next step. Right? There is always another brick you can put down in the path.
Everything is changing too. So TikTok may be out of style in a year, just saying, and it's something else too.
Right.
And you, if I'm not mistaken, you're a New Yorker, Jersey. Which one? Jersey?
Both, actually. I was in New York until I was 14, and then Jersey till I was 27. But I went to college in New York, and then I was a Philly girl for 10 years.
Yeah, because I mean, you were in an amazing place when marketing kind of was really in its, I don't want to say it's an infancy, but you kind of caught that wave of when it was just going even beyond just, say, the newspaper or television ads, because you're in the middle of fashion, you're in the middle of business districts, all these different types of things. I mean, who would have, a lot of other places throughout the United States or North America would never have the opportunity to learn what you've learned and deal with all different types of people from all over the world, right?
Right. Well, and here's the secret. My dad actually helped create the marketing department at DuPont. I mean, just to give you an idea of how, now I was a child as that was happening, or a teenager, but just to give you an idea of the evolution of marketing, it is a new business discipline for the most part.
Yeah.
I mean, sales have been around forever, but marketing as a path to drive decision making, which is really what marketing is. It is a one-way communication that is designed to drive decision making of a prospect, to get into a sales conversation, to get to that store and go to the shelf and pull something off it. TikTok is a marketing tactic because it builds visibility, right? Just like an ad does.
Yeah.
So, there's this, people look at them as brand new platforms, but what they are is replacing other platforms that have existed in the past.
I've noticed a lot of people that I know with mainly PR, I guess you could say, because I made films and I know a lot of people in California and with public relations, even people that market that are middle-aged, I guess Gen X or even baby boomers. They're having a hard time being relevant at this day and age, right? Because a lot of them just don't have that technology background, I guess you could say, right? Especially when it comes to maybe editing or, again, keeping up with the different trends online. And I think a lot of them kind of are becoming obsolete. How are you keeping yourself relevant at this point in time?
With teams. So if you take a look at a traditional marketing agency, a traditional ad agency that existed, or a promotion agency that existed, the copywriter wasn't the art director. The photographer wasn't the copywriter.
Right.
The production manager wasn't any of those.
I get it.
Right? Everything was designed with having a house of skill set experts. And that's what we do. So again, without the strategy, we believe the foundation isn't firm. But with the implementation, we have somebody who is doing social media content which is different than somebody who's doing email content or landing pages. We have somebody who understands LinkedIn better than they understand Instagram.
Yeah.
And it, you know, again, going back to the old agency days, a person who was responsible for putting together a media plan that was TV based
Mm-hmm.
was not the same person traditionally that put together the media plan that was ad based, that was for magazines or print, right? You had broadcast, you had print, you had outdoor, you had in store. Those were all people that understood their specific markets. So think about outdoor as TikTok, and think about, broadcast as podcasts, and think about print as Instagram or Facebook.
Yeah.
Now you can start seeing that the landscape the landscape has changed, but it is still a traditional landscape.
I got what you're saying there. I get what you're saying there. Do you find it sometimes though overwhelming with everything going on as far as marketing, right? I'm just saying, because I mean, I'm in it as well, trying to always market whatever I'm doing. And it seems like it's not even just apps. I'm just saying in general, what kind of is coming out, how much information, the trends, all these different types of things. If I come to you hypothetically and I say, hey, what can you do for me? Right. But here's the thing I'm going to look at too. And I think a lot of people don't talk about this when hiring somebody within marketing. They look at that person's brand that they're hiring too. So say I want a big following. It could be Instagram, LinkedIn, it could be YouTube or whatever. And I come to you and I'm looking at your platform and you're telling me you can help me. But then I go look and I go, wow, they only have 500 followers on Twitter. They don't even have a YouTube page. Instagram, they got 500 people following them. How do you overcome that? Because I'm sure you kind of come across these things. And how do you really tell people, listen, I take a different strategy?
Right. And I would say that starts with our marketing and our qualifying of our prospects. If somebody wants to build a TikTok following, they're not going to hire us. They are very challenge specific, very platform specific. They need somebody who's going to, add 100, 200, 500, whatever the number is that they and their team come up with a day, a week, a month. They're going to put some metrics in place. In our situation, we look at it again a little bit differently, because our first questions are, well, who is your audience?
Of course.
And then
Right.
what do they need to hear
Mm-hmm.
to want to be a part of your world? That's your message.
Yeah.
And then how are you going to show up differently from anybody else in that space?
Unique.
That's your position.
Yeah.
And then what pain are you going to solve, right? What offer are you going to make? Because after you put that strategy in place, you get those questions answered. Now you can say, where are those people? Are they on Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, Clubhouse, Google AdWords? Like, where are they, and how are they looking for a solution to their problem?
Sure.
The challenge today is that and we work primarily with coaches. We work primarily with coaches who want to have $3, $5, $10, $20,000 offers.
Mm-hmm.
Our experts in their field have struggled trying to figure out marketing because they think they have to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, the marketing experts can't figure it out fast enough. So what makes you think that you really want to be a coach, that you're going to go invest 20 hours a day in marketing and still maybe get it wrong? Because everything in marketing is research, right? It's all about, well, if we think the biggest audience is going to show up on Instagram, let's focus on Instagram. Maybe the biggest audience or opportunities are happening through speaking. Maybe the biggest audience are happening through becoming a published author and an Amazon bestseller. Like, nobody's thinking that, because what's happening is somebody is saying, oh, go build a TikTok empire, like your specialist. And there's nothing wrong with that. Right. But unless you know as the business owner that TikTok is what your missing piece is, and most business owners don't know the pieces, much less which one is missing, they're going to go invest in TikTok and not get a return.
Right.
Then they're going to go say, okay, well, that didn't work. I mean, I can't tell you how many coaches come to us and go, well, I have a program and everybody told me to put it out at $2,000. So I did that and it didn't sell. So I put it down to 1,000.
Yeah.
And so my program stinks. And I'm like, how do we know your program stinks if you didn't sell any of it? What stunk was your marketing.
Yeah.
Because you were making assumptions without having enough information.
Yeah, and how many people really saw their program? I'm just saying, because I have a program. And if you think about it, right, most people, like you said, that your marketing kind of is horrible, because the truth is, it's like a film. If no one sees your film, how do you know if it's good or bad, realistically, right? I'm just saying.
Exactly.
Kind of same with a book. A lot of people think they're going to make a book, and the average person only, you're lucky if 200 people read your book. You're lucky if your own family members or friends read your book. You don't even know how good or bad your book is most of the time. And you can't always just determine on the number of units you sell. Well, I got something else for you. So this is kind of, I think this is things that I kind of think about if I was in marketing, and I'm not, but I kind of think about like someone like yourself, how things have kind of changed. So as far as someone coming to you, there's different ways to make money now, because I think you're not just old school, but you're about helping somebody market their product a lot of times and selling that product. But now there's other avenues, as far as a lot of people making a lot of money marketing themselves. Could be YouTube, TikTok, other avenues. Do you work with your team with that as well? Or is it more or less just saying, no, I'm more product based. So Rich, I can help you sell your books. I can help you sell your programs, but I can't help you get more followers, say on YouTube, to make more money on YouTube.
Right. So we're more service based. Most of our clients, again, are coaches. So they have services. They'll have a program. We will help them create the framework for the program, whether they want to deliver it one-on-one, in groups and retreats and workshops and trainings, it doesn't matter. We're more about the relationship needed to get somebody to want to get to a sales conversation to talk about buying a service, a high ticket service. So one of the things that's popular, there's two different things, right? There's relational and there's transactional. I go onto the Lowe's website and I order 2x4s. That's a transaction.
Right.
I go work with a contractor and we design a house, and now we're looking at the various things that need to be bought. Step 1, step 2, step 3. That's relational.
Gotcha.
Most coaches are creating programs and services that help, with the transformation, that help with impact, that help say, well, once you get to this point, new level, new devil, now you need this, right? We're always evolving. So the thing that a lot of coaches will recommend in the marketing space is there's the concept of a marketing funnel, which is you bring a lot of people in and then you start honing them down, right? And that's really kind of a reverse. That's a funnel. It looks like a funnel cloud. And then there's a sales funnel. And the sales funnel is usually an ascension funnel. So they'll say, we'll start with a low-end product, and some of those people will buy a higher next level and next level and next level. And I'm like, scrap that. If you're an expert, if you've got 10,000 hours in your industry, in the work you're doing, you've created successes, you understand what's going on, you can intuitively feel your way through it, you can spot trends, you know what's happening next.
Yeah.
Go in with a signature product.
Okay.
The experts, the top 1% of the coaches who have these $17 and $97 and $197 or $497, they package stuff that they did real and in real time originally at some other point, and now they've got thousands and thousands and thousands of followers. They've got relationships with other coaches that'll do joint ventures, so they can go and sell that stuff in their sleep. Nobody ever starts at a coach at my level or your level where we are damn good at what we do. We know what needs to be done. We can help navigate the steps to make that happen. But to come up with a $97 offer makes no sense.
I got
It's
you.
too much content, it's too much time, and it doesn't allow, we don't have the visibility out there to have them say, well, I can't afford the $5,000 program, so I'm going to buy the $1,000 program. Like, I want to be in your world, right? People
Yeah.
don't know yet. They want to be in your world or my world
Yeah, I think a
until
lot
we
of people,
start proving it.
yeah, a lot of people are just set in their ways, right? And they only look at things one way as well. And then when you tell them, oh, we're going to change this up, or there's a lot of different ways we can go about this, either they don't want to put any more work into it, maybe they don't want to put any more money into it. But if what they're doing isn't working, you have to understand you have to take a different strategy. At the same time,
Right.
they don't want to take a different strategy because whatever they were creating or whatever they thought that the way it was going to go for them is going to be the way it's going to go. They thought they would, and you know this as well, a lot of people, let's face it, the product just may not be working, or their book may not be that good, or their program maybe isn't that good, or again, like we said, it's not being marketed correctly. But also maybe going back to your book, making some changes. It could be the cover, it could be, again, the program. Maybe it's too long, maybe it's too short, maybe you should have did video, or we could do video. Maybe it's just maybe you should just do an audio where people can listen to you. So there's all these different things that I think a lot of people have to understand. Is back to you talking about evolving, right? And transitioning and kind of being a part of the time. I think a lot of people too get caught in the past, what may have worked for them previously with different, they may have wrote a book before it was successful, now it's not as successful. Or maybe they have done whatever they've done within their own company and it's not taking off the way. They thought word of mouth would work. Like, you know, a lot of people say, oh, years ago it was all word of mouth. Well, now it's a different time and place.
Exactly.
Anyway, I got this for you before I forget. I want to get into this with you, is your sweet spot strategies and how you know, your thing is build a brand and you build a business, right? I mean, that's kind of sums it up. Is that a, is that a platform that you created as far as a book? Is it a manuscript, or is it just, you know, you see
No,
it
it's just,
online?
it's a manifesto in my head, you know,
Okay,
but
okay.
the Sweet Spot Strategies was the business I ran until I partnered with Tami. And
Okay.
it's still out there because it's a whole long convoluted story about not using VAs you trust. But I can't seem to get, it'll eventually go away. And you know, when I talk, I've got clients who have hired me before the Tami and Abigail partnership, which is Savvy Sales Strategy. And so you know, I'll use Sweet Spot, but Sweet Spot is, you know, really all about the brand strategy, because without the brand strategy, you can't build a business. And the business comes from sales.
Yeah.
And so when, you know, I said this before we went on air, that truly even marketers don't understand the difference between marketing and selling. Well, they also don't understand the difference between strategy and tactic, right? So they don't understand that branding isn't your colors and your palette. That's a part of it.
Sure.
But branding is all about the strategy, setting up all of those strategic questions.
Yeah.
And then marketing is the tactical implementation of bringing that brand to market. And then selling is taking that conversation and converting the prospect into a client. So there's, again, you know, not only is marketing a continuum, but marketing is a part of a continuum. And they have very different responsibilities, those disciplines, but they're so interwoven that you're absolutely right. Most people, and again, you know, not to generalize, but they will say, well, this didn't work, and they throw it out.
Yeah.
As opposed to tweaking the headline, tweaking the copy, tweaking the graphic, tweaking the audience, tweaking the, I don't know, you know, the byline or the tagline. There's 15 things that you should test before you throw something out. And 15 is a number I made up. I have no idea how many numbers, what the number actually is.
Sure. Yeah, I like what you say there. And a lot of people have to understand, you said, we got to keep evolving, but it's also about being with the times, strategically figuring out too, what is working, what's not, but not only now, but what's going to, paying attention to what's kind of the trend to a certain degree going.
I know a lot of people hate that and say, I don't get caught up in trends, but a lot of times you have to be aware
Right.
of what is going on with many different things, opportunities, like you being on my podcast, hypothetically. It's maybe if you were somebody who just says, hey, I don't like doing podcasts, or I don't like to be on Zoom, or I don't like to be interviewed or whatever, that's kind of restricting you. Then you have other people that think they're only going to do Zooms. So you got somebody who's always just pumping Zooms out like crazy, right? And they exhaust everybody, which again, I think it's just about learning. I think marketing is learning. It's a constant, like what's interesting with you is you grew up in marketing, and I have some other friends that have family members that also grew up in marketing. And it's almost a natural transitional thing, because unless maybe you do something much different, I think when it comes down to anything, you have to learn how to market yourself, no matter who the hell you are, right? It starts with you, then whatever you're going to create, and then maybe whatever business or whatever project. I don't care if you're in music, film, business, anything, whatever it is, for the most part, maybe the stock market stuff, you don't have to brand yourself if you're just maybe an investor. But if you're in real
you want to become the go-to, you want to become the whisperer, right?
Right.
You want to become the bond whisperer, or the NASDAQ whisperer. I mean, there are people who, when certain people talk, other people listen, and that's a form of branding, right? Because that's
For sure.
That's the position they've taken. They've got a very narrow niche. They know what they're good at. They're right more than they're wrong. And here's the thing, about trends is, we have to be able to see where things are going. And we're not going to get it right all the time, because we have to stay relevant.
Yep.
That's the big key in marketing, is to stay relevant and to stay visible, and to, always be that I always said, I'm not controversial because I always want to be the voice of reason.
Yeah.
As a strategist, I think ultimately I'm always going to say, well, what doesn't change? Because that's where we build from.
Gotcha. Yeah. And again, if you're in construction, you're going to have to market your brand, most likely, right? If you're in real estate, you're going to have to market your brand. Most likely any business you're in, for the most part, you're just going to have to learn how to market it. I see a lot of times what happens though with people, at least that I've seen throughout my life. I have a massive family, and I know a lot of people. They kind of get exhausted. So for instance, it was the Yellow Pages originally newspapers and magazine, let's say, unless they went and did a commercial. Then it transitioned into websites, right? I'm just saying, and it was a ton of content you had to put up there. Then it became image driven, where a lot of photos, I should say. And then all of a sudden, you had things like Facebook come out. All right, let's do that. Then you got Google ads. All right, now we're in that. Now, let's start doing, let's start putting lists together, mass emails. Let's start that. And it gets exhausting. And it's hard to be relevant and keep moving forward sometimes. Also, it isn't cheap a lot of times either. And it's just not easy. And I think as time goes on, with more and more people flooding, it could be the internet, or having, I guess you could say, just more access, or putting the time into kind of taking over in areas that you have no idea, or competitors coming out of nowhere. Because let's face it, a lot of people think, okay, this is who I'm competing against. And before you know it, in a couple of years, there's 1,000 people all of a sudden. TikTok kind of exposed that, or Instagram Reels, and them were like, oh, I'm really talented. I'm a good singer, hypothetically. And I know there's a lot of singers. Then all of a sudden you go on a platform like that, you see, no, there's not a few singers. There's millions of singers, and they have great voices. They have a voice. Same with doing anything. A lot of people now have a voice in so many different platforms. All right. Now you and your partner, what do you think you talked about this previously. What do you see as far as you two in the future being able to help people, as far as the next kind of move? Not just kind of talking about what you're doing now, but what do you think the next decade, for instance, is going to kind of bring for us?
Well, the coaching industry is exploding. I mean, and that's, think small level explosion and put it on steroids. It's really exploding. And there's a couple of things that we do that is different than a lot of other people in our space. Number one, we aren't digital marketers, we're marketers.
Mhm.
So the only paths that digital marketers really focus on are ways to get you online.
Yeah.
And we look again at the holistic picture of what do you need marketing wise. Again, we're overall strategists, and then we create plans, and then we implement the plans.
Mm.
So we actually have a cradle to grave type of concept end to end, where we will help you identify your message, your offer, your audience, put the framework together for the offer, get you, we go from are you market ready to are you launch ready to are you sales ready? And we actually can do sales for you. We can provide a fractional commission sales force
Mhm.
to take that off, especially if you're going from, let's say you're a therapist and you've decided to become a life coach. Well, the therapist mindset is I charge for sessions,
Yes.
right? Versus coaching is I might charge, put together a package. Well, you've now gone from a $150 session to $1,000 package. That sales process is different. The sales language is different. Your confidence level is different about all of it. So having an outside sales team bring you qualified clients can help. But I think what really makes us different is that we're marketers who understand sales.
Okay.
And both Tami and I met selling for a high ticket coach. We were online doing appointment setting. If you want to talk to the coaching corner, if any of that language, come
Mhm.
schedule a strategy session with part of our team. We were those people that would be selling for a coach. And then we actually met in the back of the room selling for a coach at a live event.
Mm.
And that's when we both realized that we are marketers who understand sales.
Gotcha.
A lot of marketers don't understand sales. They don't understand what's the connection.
Yeah.
And a lot of salespeople don't think they need marketing. But then what happens is they get exhausted because they feel like they're always in sales mode.
Yeah. Do you and your partner, besides just help market other brands, do you coach other people in marketing?
We haven't up to this point. I mean, I get out on podcasts. Tami gets out on podcasts. But we don't, we've never looked at how to help marketers be better marketers by teaching them, the connection between sales and marketing. We've never really looked at that. We focus on coaches, and they can be life coaches, business coaches, nutrition coaches. They can be people who want to have a coaching business but don't yet, because they've been in HR for 20 years at an organization, and now they're looking to take those HR skills and help people with career counseling, or help people, help organizations with better team building or whatever. So that's where our focus is right now. But yeah, I mean, if a marketing agency came to us and said, how do we become better marketers, by understanding how to be better salespeople, we certainly could help them. I think it would take a couple of failures, a couple of try and fail and try and modify to see how that goes.
I just want to ask you this question because you're in marketing. And then how do you market yourself? Because I see so many companies or people, it seems like it's so saturated on a place like LinkedIn, let's just say. I get hit up, I'm not kidding you, probably 2 to 4 people a day claiming they're marketing. They hit me up, they
Right.
want to connect, and they send me a message, or they just send me a message. How do you weed through all that? Because the market is massive now. I mean,
So,
it's just got to be bonkers. How
so
do
anything
you?
we do for our clients, we test on us first. We're our own guinea pigs. And we have done Facebook ads. We have done cold outreach. We have done social media posting. We've done private groups to build engagement and then sell within the groups. We've done that on Facebook. We've done it on LinkedIn. We've tested YouTube ads. We've tested LinkedIn ads. We've tested Instagram ads, Facebook ads. So what we are always doing is taking a look at what's going on in the market. Facebook ads have not been at lower levels, have not been as productive as they've been in previous years. We've done collaborations and partnerships. We've done referral marketing. We've never done really JVs because we just don't, it just isn't a natural fit for us, you know, to team up with a copywriter, and our products are too high end. Everything we do is sold through strategy session. We don't do a click to buy. I don't believe in a click to buy for a high value product. And we want to get into conversations. That's, you know, we are very conversational sales. We're very conversational marketing because we want feedback.
How do you overcome a lot of people that come to you that are burnt out? Because I presume a lot of
Yep.
things, right? If they were doing well, they wouldn't need you, right? Or
exactly. Well, we have some that want to scale.
Or I was going to say, maybe they're new. Maybe they're new as well. You got
right.
both, obviously, and some in the middle. But a lot of people I see, they either have spent a lot of money on ads, they've spent a lot of money on marketing companies, and they have spent a lot of time also maybe hiring a lot of other people regarding whatever they're doing.
Right.
And then for them to, again, trust you and hire you, you know, to get a profit, and then also the expense of you. How do you overcome that a lot of times? Because that's not an easy pitch. I know you're going to say there's comps and all these things, and each brand.
No. You're absolutely right. I mean, there have been clients that have worked with us that, you know, have come with such they're so frustrated and disappointed with where they are that truthfully they become uncoachable. And, you know, that's not a recipe for success.
Right.
We have done certain things and tried certain things, but we're very open in that qualification conversation that says, look, all marketing is research.
Yeah.
You know, if we have got a 12-week service and it's going to take you 6 weeks to figure out what your brand is or what your message is, that just reduces the amount of time now that we're going to be able to take that out for a spin and test it. So what we've done actually in the last couple of months is we've refocused everything into a month-to-month relationship with us.
Yeah.
And in that first month, it is very focused on, we've got to get the strategy right. We've got to make sure you've got an audience, a message, and an offer. That's all. The big question we are getting answered in the work they do with me is, if I gave you a client tomorrow, who would they be and what are you doing with them? We get our tech. We have a tech person that's included with our services, and that tech person is designed to connect all of those frustrating platforms, you know, whether they have them and they need them to work together, or whether they don't have them and we're recommending the best kind of platform integration that we can. And we don't make money from it. They're all your platforms. We hold nothing hostage. Then we have a partnership that we are in where they bring an appointment setting VA and a social media VA. And that person is out there within the first 2 weeks, who is actually starting to build visibility for you and starting to bring people into sales appointments. So by the end of the first month, you are getting sales appointments.
It's awesome.
So now, and if you say at the end of 30 days, thanks so much, bye, that's great. You own whatever you own. They're your assets on your platforms, and we terminate. If you want to continue on, then we are continuing to do social media posting. We're continuing to do appointment setting. We're tweaking the offer. Maybe we're looking at new lead gen tools, going from a freebie to a quiz or a training or a workshop series. Maybe we're going to start testing some charging of small work. I mean, now we actually can, because we've got a simple path in place. We call it the theory of one. Simple path. Now we can start layering it with Do we go from Facebook to Instagram? Do we go to TikTok? What do we do? And then what are the resources we need for that? But it's all based on the same strategy.
Mm. Yeah, I think people have to also understand it's going to take a lot of time and patience, right? I mean, let's call it for what it is. I think a lot of people, when they come up with an idea, I don't care what it is, it could be a book, a product, whatever, they start comparing themselves to companies that have been around for decades, right?
Exactly.
For a century. I don't care. Or they think, I see a lot, they think by going viral is going to be the game changer a lot of times. With it could be a video or whatever, a reel. Whatever.
Sizzle.
Exactly.
Like blast
Exactly.
off, sizzle.
Yeah, it's got to be that consistency. And you just have to understand too, when dealing with marketing or anything, a lot of it's about being rejected. And I think a lot of new people just aren't used to it. They think they're going to come up with this product, or they spend all this money and all this time, and they think they're going to just be the next millionaire or be the whatever they're going to be, the next sensation online and all this, and most fail. But that doesn't mean you're going to always fail. I'm just saying at the beginning, it is hard to overcome this.
Yeah, it is. And it's really a part of the process. Very few people get lucky very quickly on, but I mean, it does happen, right? You do have that 2%, 3% that get out there. And here's the thing, experts, and again, I focus on working with experts. So if you've lost 10 pounds and now you think you're a weight loss expert, you're not my client. If you're somebody that's been in the mind and nutrition field for 20 years and you're focusing on weight loss, that's a different person. Sure. So the expert's dilemma is that they want to tell people what they know, and they want to overwhelm them with content.
Gotcha.
And then they've been sold this bill of goods that the 4-hour work week is a reality. Mm-hmm. And it isn't. It is a very down the road type of reality, because even the people I know who are uber successful, they continue to work crazy hours because they love what they do. And they're always looking to scale and innovate. So they've been sold this bill of goods from, some learning workshop, learning platform. You just put the course on the platform and it'll, cha-ching in your sleep. Yeah. And that doesn't work. So there's a lot of unlearning that has to happen, because marketing is not a plug and play. It's not templated. I can't tell you how many clients have come to us and said, well, I hired a marketing coach and this is what they did with me and it didn't work. And I go, well, okay, let's break that down, because there's a lot of things. Okay, you hired a marketing coach. That's great. Mm-hmm. You did this together, but it didn't work. So why didn't it work? Well, I didn't like it. Well, okay, mm-hmm. You're not going to sell anything you don't like, number one. Number two, it wasn't authentic. It wasn't compelling. I mean, when we work with a client, when a client decides they want to hire us, the first thing we do is take a look at their existing assets. We want to know, where can we repurpose? Where can we shift? Because we don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. There's no reason to not take a look at where they are now and say, well, let's try this approach.
Yes.
I was on with a client before this call, and I was looking at her website, and I was like, she's got this one word there. And I go, well, is this the word you really want to be using? Mm-hmm. And she goes, well, I'm open to changing it. And I go, no, I'm not asking you to change it. I'm not saying it's good or bad. My job isn't to tell you what to do. My job is to help you say, you know what, this really feels right to me. Mm. Because if it feels right to me, then now how do I make it relevant to somebody else? We spend too much time in our land as opposed to, well, how is this relevant and relatable to somebody else? So I do an exercise with my clients. Can I do it quickly with you?
Yeah.
So it's a very fast exercise, but it's crazy simple. One of the things I will say is okay, you say what you want to say. Mm-hmm. And I want you to be sitting at a table with more than one chair. So okay. I want you to sit in a chair. I want you to say what you want to say.
Okay.
And then I want you to change chairs.
Okay.
And I want you to say, well, how is that relevant to me in this chair?
Yes.
Because every time we change chairs, we change perspectives.
I couldn't agree more.
we're looking out at a window versus we're looking at a wall, or we're looking at a plant, or we're seeing the whole scope of the kitchen, right?
100%.
And so it's a physical exercise. You can also do it with a hat, by the way. You can sit in a chair and put on a hat, take that hat off and put on a different hat.
Of course. I do that with screenplays, because when I've written so many screenplays, I have to become each one of these characters to a certain degree, or think differently than each one, speak differently, have a different perspective.
Right, because
Right.
how will they respond to
Exactly.
to
And I also argue with myself sometimes, and that's how I learn about myself. Like, I'll
Right.
dispute what I just made. I'll write something and then go back and take a totally different approach on it.
Exactly. So that's where the expert really struggles, is because
Absolutely.
they dig their heels in. They think I mean, I'm not saying they think that what they know is right, which
100%.
it is, by the way, but it's not relative or relevant to the person they're talking to.
Right. And, I help guys with their identity, and, some women, but a lot of guys aren't even happy with their identity, but at the same time, they're not willing to change it. It's kind of crazy, right? It could be when meeting women, it could be fitness. I'm not getting the results I want. Well, maybe it's your workout. Maybe it's your nutrition. Maybe it's all these other things. Maybe you shouldn't be weight training. Maybe you should be doing something else. I'm just saying.
Right.
But they're miserable in the situation that they're in. It could be the way they dress and everything else. But again, they don't want to let that identity go or change. It's because of a lot of fear, as you know.
Well, it's the pool concept, right? As long as you're holding on to the edge of a pool, you've got to let go to the edge of the pool to get to the other side.
Absolutely.
And it is a very scary thing. So you asked about coaching, and, neither Tami nor I consider ourselves coaches. We're consultants. But we've been married 31 years, so we can talk about how the emotional aspect of being an entrepreneur deals in the dynamic of, a spousal situation.
Yes.
We've both got adult children. We've raised children as a part of our entrepreneurial journey. So we can talk about navigating where's the laundry and where's the ice skating lesson and all of that. We've been in corporate. Actually, Tami went right into entrepreneur 35 years. I went 15 years in corporate. I can talk about the loneliness of that isolation and transition. And, we end up coaching people because what happens is they forget their why, or they diminish it. And a lot of people talk about, you need to know your why. And I always say, never put your why in your family, or what type of burden is it to put your why on a 7-year-old child? Please. Your why is inside of you. Your why is going to create that passion, that commitment, that tenacity, that persistency, that consistency, that the boulder is in front of me. I now need a ladder to climb over it. Because if you're not connected to that why, you're going to stop.
Yeah.
It's going to be too painful. It's going to be too expensive. It's going to be too slow. And one of the reasons why that Tami and I feel very convicted to is that it is part of our job to remind them of the why.
Absolutely.
I worked with a lot of clients with very big budgets. And somebody would say something to me, and they would say, I would say, that's not in alignment with what you want to do. And they go, well, it's like you care more than I care. And I go, I do. I had a client who had a standard manual for their logo that was this thick. And one of the team, big university. One of the team wanted to say, well, I want to put smiley face here. And I'm like, oh, no, I'm not doing that on a promotional item for you. He goes, well, I'm the client. That's what I want. And I go, yeah, I have an 11-year relationship with this university, and I'm not blowing it because I didn't follow the standards manual.
Gotcha.
So somebody has to be convicted to those foundational principles.
Sure.
And your why is your why is, why are you building it if you have no why?
Absolutely. We could go on and on and on, me and you, with this stuff.
Sorry, Rich. I get
no,
passionate.
I love it. I know, I love it. And
You know, back to being just open-minded people. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times just learn to be a little more open-minded and go out and experience something different, try something different. You'll be shocked a lot of times in your marketing. A lot of
Yeah.
times you may not even realize there's an audience out there. You know, you don't know. Is it a certain age demographic? Like mine is kind of shifting to women a lot because I was always with the guys. And then all of a sudden I'm like, I'm finding out more and more women are listening to me or want to hear my perspective. And I was always kind of
Right.
maybe focused on men too much. I'm just using me for an example. But even going from film to books to programs and all these things, I wanted to change and I wanted to evolve. But I think a lot of people are afraid to make those changes, right?
Well, you know, there's when we bring on a new client, and in all the years that I've been selling for other clients, even in business development, I there's three questions. There's three things I want them to commit to. One is they've got to be coachable.
Of
They
course.
have to be coachable. Number two, they have to trust the process and do the work. That doesn't mean they can't question it.
Yeah.
It just simply means that if I'm saying from a best practices perspective or a be patient perspective, you've got to trust that what I'm saying is in your best interest. You have to do the work. And then the third is you have to ask questions. You have to be able to question the status quo,
Exactly.
because if nothing changes in status quo.
Yep. And you can't expect someone like you to all of a sudden take what I have and magically make it, and you know what I mean, unbelievable, or make millions of dollars off of it, and all these kind of unrealistic expectations. You got to look at it as a team now, I
Well,
believe.
and that's even done, like we say, we are done for you and done with you. 2 years ago, we were done for you, and everybody expected us to do all the work. And here's the thing, I don't know your voice if you don't share it with me. I don't know what you intuitively are feeling, or what's your non-negotiable, or where your boundaries are if you don't share it. So now we've converted from done for you to done for you and done with you. We will, once you give us the ball and start the, you know, the yarn being balled up, we will take the ball and run with it,
Sure.
and everything will be reviewed by you, but you still have to play an active part in it.
Yeah, and I'm going to go back too. I think a lot of people, like when technology came out, especially like a website, what was great was they'd put a website up, some images, and they would sell through there. I think a lot of us did that, especially if you were
Yeah.
kind of on the cusp of that or in the beginning. And then as time went on, it became more competitive. Then, you know what I mean? Then other platforms, social media, all these other things started to happen. And it's,
Right.
you know, and it got saturated. Let's call it for what it is. And people got to understand it is not easy to sell a product. You're lucky if a point of 1%. It's insane how many people think they're going to be loved and liked and all this. You got to really
But
look.
here's the thing about saturation. You're absolutely right. Saturation means that there's a market for it. We forget
Absolutely.
that saturation is a positive thing.
Yes.
The challenge now is to not be vanilla,
Yep.
because everybody wants to maximize their reach. So they think, well, if I'm the same as Tony Robbins, I'm going to get Tony Robbins' audience.
Exactly.
And, you know, you said something earlier, which was so true, that people really do believe that I can just put stuff out there. And, you know, you want the success of a 10-year veteran in the first 60 days. And what people forget is that, I mean, I don't know this to be true or not true, but I have to imagine when Tony Robbins started as a motivational speaker, he probably was talking to rooms of less than 10.
If he's lucky,
Yeah,
right?
right. You know, the comedian Robin Williams,
Oh,
or
yeah.
any of the greats of the greats, they were working places to
Yeah.
people who were too busy being barkeeps than they were being audience
Some
members.
didn't even
You
have
know,
an audience. Some didn't even have like
exactly.
Steve, you would have nobody in the crowd. You're doing it to the bartender, like you said. Yeah.
Well, that's where doing the work is so important, because you know, the skyrocket up and the fast flame down. I mean, we call them one-hit wonders, right? We call
Right.
them, you know, there's no substance to it. And to build a business, that's why building a brand to build a business is still so, whether it's with Sweet Spot Strategies or Savvy Sales Strategy, it's still the same concept, is because you can't build a consistent, enduring business. You can't scale transaction.
You got to have that endurance, man. Again, back to failing, back to taking a risk. It's just out there. You have to learn how to, I think too, people really underestimate the ups and downs you're going to have emotionally doing any of these type of things. You're going to most likely sometimes be depressed, miserable. Other times you're going to feel like, oh my God,
Which is why that why is so critical.
Yeah.
You know, it goes back to Edison, right? I figured 10,000 ways not to create a light bulb before I created it. It was that persistence that, damn it, pardon my French, I'm going to figure this out, as opposed to just expecting it to, it to find you. You've got to find it. So
that's a perfect way to end this. I usually do 1 hour, and we are at 1 hour. Tell people how they can find you, if you could.
My name is on the Zoom. It's Abigail Tiefenthaler. There's only one of me so far that I know of. So I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram. Well, not really Instagram, Facebook. SavvySalesStrategy.com is our website. We have a private Facebook group called Implementers with Impact. And, reach out, even if it's just a question. My job is not to sell you something. My job is really to help you figure out what your best next step is.
That's awesome. Can you send me the image of Savvy Sales for me? Because I know you have the Sweet Spot one, but I would like can you send that to me, and then I'll incorporate it with the image of your the YouTube cover, if possible.
Yeah, that would be great. Savvy Sales Strategy is where all of our energy is going right now, because it's just such a great offer for coaches.
That's wonderful, because I'm going to put a couple images up there, and I want that one to be up there as well.
Absolutely. I will get that for you.
All right. You're awesome. Thank you so much for doing this. I learned so much just listening to you. I love it. I know I probably drive you crazy sometimes going back.
Was it old school? Was it a different approach than you're used to?
Yeah. And truthfully, I'm going to have on my podcast this time a few different marketing people. So I already did an interview with a very young group of guys, Luke and Noah. And then I'm going to have some others that I've worked with as well, helping other companies actually market a company. How do I say this? I was helping them market another company through them. They wanted advice from me, which that's going to be a different podcast. And then I have you, and I think I have somebody else who's actually really involved with teaching people how to have a better presence online. Could be video, photo, all those things. So they fall under marketing, but a lot of people want to start doing more Zooms and become more comfortable, podcasts and uploading videos on YouTube. So that's their strategy. So I'm going to have her on as well. So I want to give everybody an opportunity to kind of showcase what they do.
Absolutely. I think it's great. Thank you so much for, reaching out to me. I really appreciate it. And
I love
anything I can do for you or your audience,
No, I appreciate this, because I do know a lot of people, including my own family members, that are in marketing. Let's face it, a lot of us know a lot of people in marketing, but I think for me to kind of do a podcast with them, I want different approaches. You know what I mean? And I want to hear I want different age demographics. I want different takes. I don't want the same thing pitching to me that, it's all social media and we got to get all these likes and we got to get all these followers and we got to, all that, which is cool. I just want different people.
Likes and followers still need to be converted to clients somewhere down the road.
Yeah, because very few people, I can assure you, are making enough money with followers or views like they think they're going to.
Less than 12% of coaches make over $100,000 a year. Now, in lots of cities in the US, $100,000 a year does not go very far. So that's a sad state, that if they're truly experts in their field and they can't find a way to make $100,000 a year, there needs to be some changes going on.
Yes, for sure. All right. Thank you so much. I'm going to take off.
All right.
See you later.